The magnitude of businesses impacted by COVID-19 continues to increase daily. Nearly every company is wondering, when will this be over? And what will business look like when we are through this? Can you talk to us as a former CEO, as somebody that has been in business for a long time? Can you talk to us a little bit about the psychology of running a small business in general, but under these particularly arduous circumstances?
Oh boy. I mean, you're kind of trying to you have two primary hats, and that's one is cheerleader and the other is emergency room doctor. And on one side of the equation, you're trying to furiously keep the patient alive, keep your business alive, and you're focused on working capital, you're focused on your payroll, you're focused on your critical vendors and your stakeholders. And then on the other side, you have to be, the voice of optimism, and you have to be thinking about strategy and how this virus is going to impact the new world order, which is just the word I'm using to describe. Because look, we're not going back to business as usual, right? The world is never going to be the same. And so if you're leading a small business or nonprofit, you have to be taking care of your team. I'd say there's three things, right? Keep the business alive, which is your emergency room doctor hat. Take care of your team, which is your empathy and your leadership hat, right? Where you're making sure that your employees and customers are safe, that they're humanely treated, that their livelihoods can be preserved as much as possible. And then you've got the cheerleader / visionary hat that you have to wear, where you have to sell yourself and your stakeholders on a better future, right? And you have to be optimistic and positive, because these things are horrible, and this is certainly going to leave a mark on the historical record. But this level of chaos and this level of intervention is creating untold opportunities before our eyes. And new businesses are being hatched right now, and they're being hatched in an environment where they have to be lean and scrappy and resourceful and pivot on a dime in order to take advantage of all of the chaos. And so 5-10 years from now, we might look back and we might see innovations in med tech, innovations in sanitation, hygiene, innovations in commercial real estate in the built world that we would have never dreamed of if it wasn't for this virus. And so, for all the nonprofit and small business leaders out there, as much as you can, keep it alive. As much as you can, protect the health and well-being of your employees and stakeholders. And don't forget that this presents so much opportunity. And these moments in time come so infrequently. And you need to be thinking about how this crisis is going to impact the new world order for your business and your business model.
Well, that's such a good point. And I think as we reflect on the near history of the 2008-2009 recession, you look at companies like Uber, Lyft, Airbnb, Warby Parker, just to name a few, that are now billion-dollar companies that came out, or that had their genesis during that time of really terrible disruption. And so while a business should probably focus on their core competencies, this is a time, and I think we can talk a little bit about innovation during this conversation. This is a time to be thinking about what can we do to meet this moment. Before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit about some of the practical steps that business owners should be taking right now to weather this storm.
From my time as a restructuring and turnaround consultant, the tool of the trade is a rolling 13-week cash forecast. And under normal conditions, a company or a nonprofit you're not worried about whether or not you're going to make it out of the next quarter alive. Well, guess what? Everyone's worried about whether or not they're going to make it through the next quarter alive. And so when you implement that rolling 13-week cash forecast, a couple of things happen. Number one, you start to become very disciplined and very conscientious about closely monitoring your cash. Number two, you're going to naturally start to pick up opportunities to save cash or to generate extra cash. And then number three, most importantly, if you do have a point in time where you're going to run out of cash, it maximizes the amount of time you have on your horizon to see it. And that's critical, because if I figure out that I'm about to run out of payroll and I have 5 days to fix it, I'm probably not going to fix it. If I figure out I'm going to run out of cash to pay payroll and I have 5 weeks to fix it, there's still a chance. And so monitoring your cash very closely so that you can pinpoint the exact week when you might run out of capital and credit is so critical, because it maximizes the amount of time that business leader has to solve for that cash crunch.